Welcome to the InitiativeOne Leadership Podcast, where we help leaders maximize their impact and transform their lives. I'm your host, Romeo Marquez Jr., as well as the Chief Growth Officer for InitiativeOne. I'm so excited for this episode because today's guest is an amazing human being, an amazing leader. It is InitiativeOne's COO, Tracy Johnson. She's going to share with us some challenges she's faced on her leadership journey from being a registered nurse to now making an impact with companies and organizations, along with why great leaders cannot succeed alone. So let's jump right into the conversation with Tracy Johnson. Tracy, thank you so much for being here today. It's an honor and a gift, and you are actually one of our first guests for this podcast.
Awesome. I am so excited to be here with you, Romeo. I love what we do every day, impacting people every day.
That's what I'm talking about, and we're going to get more into that in a moment. But first, I would just love to know your journey on how you got to InitiativeOne, and now you being the COO of InitiativeOne.
So I navigated into InitiativeOne about 16 years ago. I had been an executive leader in a healthcare organization, 18 years of that. So I'm a registered nurse actually by training. And what I discovered about leadership after I finished my master's degree was that it's transferable to every business, every organization, because it's about people.
Along that journey, has there been challenges, life's challenges, career challenges along the way? And if so, how did you overcome any of those challenges?
Sure. I've been around the block once or twice and have had a couple of those in my lifetime. And I would say just making career transition was probably one of my first big transitions, moving from a corporate environment into an entrepreneurial environment. And the way I was able to successfully get through, first of all, you surround yourself with people who are like-minded, right? So moving from the corporate world into an entrepreneurial world, you really have to surround yourself with people who think from an entrepreneurial perspective. And because I loved business, the business of healthcare, it was transferable into any business. And so what I realized or recognized, because I had become expert in healthcare, is that transition that was really important to recognize is that I was moving back into a level one leadership. I was novice again when I went into the entrepreneurial world. And so at level one leadership, it's really just about, especially in an entrepreneurial company, it's you. It is you. And so for me, it was rebranding. It was figuring out who I was as a person. It was figuring out how do you connect to other businesses and learn other businesses as quickly as you can. We happen to work in manufacturing, healthcare, retail, as well as education. And so all of those main industries, again, learning enough about each of those industries so you can really understand what the pain points are from a leadership perspective was important when I made that transition.
Love that. And you working in those different industries or helping companies or organizations in those industries, I know that you've experienced great leaders and saw great leaders, take it up another notch. What would you say are some qualities that does make a great leader?
Oh, that's a great question. I think one of the things, or some of the things that I look for, is a level of humility and really having the ability to connect well and relationally with the team around them. And when I've worked with great leaders, man, they have so many people who have high respect, high connection with them, and really are making great impact in the industry or the world around them. Oftentimes they work not even just in their industry, but beyond their industry. They are impacting the community that they work in. They're connecting nationally with like partners across the country, and just really have that strong footprint of connection and relationships and impact.
And speaking for today's economy, what can a great leader do as things are constantly changing in today's world?
Yeah, it's been a season. It's been a long
A
season.
very long season for sure.
Couple of years season. The best leaders the ones that I work with and I've seen thrive in this environment, they practice resiliency for sure in terms of what are the things that keep them resilient and the team around them. The other thing that we see is they're willing to take risk even in those times of uncertainty, because oftentimes we forget that in uncertainty, when things look maybe a little darker than others, there's always opportunity in those moments. And great leaders recognize that. They recognize that seize the moment. Let's make lemonade out of the lemons that we've been served. I mean, that sounds so classic of a cliche, but it is a reality. So even though we've been in this environment for the last couple of years, many of our companies have taken risk and they've benefited from that risk, and they continue to thrive and grow at a rate of 10, 20, 30% a year, even in this economic environment and pandemic environment.
Wow. In your opinion, what would you say holds somebody back from being a good leader to being a great leader?
Oh boy, that's another really good question. Great leaders recognize that they can't do it all, and they're willing to ask for help, and they're willing to build a team around them of talent and people who are even maybe better at the core craft of whatever the business is than they are. And so I would say the great leaders build that team around them and continuously ask for help when they need help. And even when they don't need help, right? Because you're always mentoring, you always want to be pushing your team from the standpoint of how can they grow? What project can they take on? What are the things that they need to stretch in? And that really fill the joy bell of their hearts and keep them engaged in the company in a great way. That's where I see great leadership.
And so if one does want to become that great leader, but they're afraid to delegate, how can one just take that one step further?
The first one is your self-talk, because your self-talk matters. And in those moments when you want to hang on so tight, you've got to really think about what's going on in your head and what's preventing you from letting go. You have to shift from a fixed mindset, and a fixed mindset, an example of that would be perfectionism, right? Perfectionism is where we are absolutely addicted to order. We've got to have control over everything. It's got to look right. It's got to smell like it right. It's got to be right. And the reality of life is messy, right? And so shifting to what we call a growth mindset, in other words, not having a perfectionistic mindset, but maybe a mindset of, I'm going to strive for excellence. That allows the messiness to occur. That allows that nonlinear path that it often takes to get from point A to point B. And so those two things, when I think about self-talk and when I think about what's your mindset, is your mindset fixed? Are you stuck in perfectionism, or are you working on your perfectionism? Because oftentimes high achievers, there's a fine line that they pass where they can accomplish a lot and do a lot of great things. And then if they just cross over what we call driven into driven land, that's where that perfectionism really begins to get in their way. And you know it when you start pushing people away from you, when you see people scatter when you walk into a room because whatever is going on is not exactly how they want it.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. And let's talk about InitiativeOne real quick. What do you want people to know about InitiativeOne?
Oh, man. Okay, people should know about InitiativeOne because there has not been a new leadership concept for 1,000 years. I work with some such talented people like your Romeo and our doctorate level people in our company. And, there's not new leadership out there. However, the way that we've been able to weave together our process in such a way to bring a team or an individual from where they are today, just meet them where they're at, to a whole new level of transformation. And it's not you got to change them. because we're all pretty wired who we're going to be by the time we're 3 years old. But what are the pivots? What are the important pivots that they have to make? That's transformation, because we're all built and we all have our own set of gifts, talents, and abilities that we bring to the table. And oftentimes it's our mindset or some small shifts that we need to make in terms of how we think about things. That's what I would say about the transformation process. And it is a process. Those things are not events. And we find that the peer-to-peer accountability, like being in a team and winning together, transforming together, is really a powerful tool for organizations then to get better, because it's leaders who build and grow organizations. And when you have a healthy team, high chemistry, those types of things, man, sky's the limit. And that's what we do. That's what we do every day. And we love working with our teams. And one of the things that differentiate us, I think, is, first of all, our team, our ability to create what we call a psychologically safe environment. And that's the feedback. That's not me saying that we do that, because it's me saying that the feedback that we get is our ability to do that and help people to make those pivots, because those can be really personal. And so you've got to set space where people can get on the playing field and make those pivots and be encouraged and lifted up in terms of their wins. And that's some of the work, the hard work that we do every single day.
Love it. And I just feel blessed and honored to be a part of this team. They are super talented at what they do, but more than anything, we are genuinely there for people, and we care about the individuals so that they can create the results for the team and the company as a whole. So if you want to learn more about Initiative One, go to initiativeone.com. All right. So last question, Tracy, before I get into my rapid fire Q&A.
Okay.
What is your advice for leaders that want to take things to the next level?
My advice to them is, of course, come and talk to us. We have some great programs that we would love to engage with you. And some of those can be more brief, all the way to an executive coaching process where it's a one-on-one deep dive and really working and focusing on your growth as a leader. I would say that first. Secondly is become a constant learner, a continuous learner. There is so much material out there everywhere. And it's not enough just to read it. You have to get on the playing field and practice it. So if you're trying to grow, let's say in your emotional intelligence, well, there's 4 different areas that you really can begin to work on, and you can grow your emotional intelligence. And you looking up a few things on the internet, I'm confident that if you get out on the playing field, you let your peer, a close peer or colleague know that you're trying to grow in this area, you'll begin to see growth. So it's all of the above, but we'd love to talk to you.
Definitely. Thank you so much for sharing that, Tracy. All right, here we go. Rapid fire Q&A.
All right, I'm ready.
So
Let's go.
So answer with the first thing that comes to your mind. All right, here we go. What is a book you would recommend?
Oh, my favorite is Brené Brown, Daring Greatly.
A movie or documentary you would recommend?
The one that comes to mind is Marry Me, which is a most recent one. Goofy, romantic, love it, laugh all the way through.
Love it. What song lights you up and or brings you joy?
Right now, any of the Bruno Mars music. My son plays it all the time and I love it. It just lifts me up, gets me going.
What's one of your favorite quotes?
Oh, it's the Teddy Roosevelt quote about daring greatly. It's not the people sitting in the stand pointing fingers and yelling and hollering. The real work gets done in the arena, on the floor, on the field, and the sweat and the blood and the tears and all of that go with. I mean, that's my favorite quote, him talking through that.
One of the best investments you made that has helped you in your life's journey?
My education. It's got to be my education. I love learning, and that's formal education and informal education.
If you could have dinner with 3 people, dead or alive, who would they be?
Oh boy. Brené Brown, Angelina Markel. How do you say her last name? Markel. ex-chancellor of Germany, and Queen Elizabeth.
What do you value?
Oh, people, humanness.
What do you know for sure?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
I love that answer. What do you want people to remember about you?
I think the most important is for me that I've contributed in some way to our world. And for me, it's, that mother, that wife, that community member that makes an impact.
Love it. And any last words for our audience?
Man, go seize the day. Carpe diem.
That's what I'm talking about. Well, thank you, Tracy, so much. It's, again, an honor just to be around your presence. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for tuning in to the InitiativeOne Leadership Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to support the podcast, please share it with a friend, family member, or colleague, or leave a rating and review. Also, be sure to subscribe to our podcast so that you can stay up to date for new episodes. And don't forget to sign up for our leadership newsletter for new content along with invites to our live and virtual events. You can go to InitiativeOne.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you on the next episode.